think a big stress that teens face is social stress, and I think friends and just being at school and all the stress of being the best and being the prettiest and being the most athletic. It's really stressful, and I think people need to just normalize, different body types, different beauty standards. I think our beauty standards are too high. And just accept everyone for who they are and realize that people are going to be different, people are going to be unique, and we need to love and accept that and cherish it, because unique personality traits make people who they are and make them fun and make them lovable. So I think we just need to accept everyone.
Yeah, I think growing up in Orange County, look at the ocean behind us. It's gorgeous. We live in such a beautiful place that sometimes you feel almost guilty to not be appreciative of that, or to be going through a rough patch where you don't feel like yourself. And so I think that is something that's really hard, like growing up in a place that has so much privilege and you feel like you have these high expectations to meet, and it's not always that easy.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that I know that have struggled with mental health have kind of tried to tell themselves it's I'm just complaining, I don't have big problems like other people have bigger problems than me, and by putting those feelings down, it doesn't make them go away. They still feel that way. It's hard to really reach those people and make sure that they know that their problems do matter and they want to listen and help.
Building off of that, people often tend to compare their struggles to others and say, well, oh, I don't have it as bad as this other person. I know I've done that before. And it just, people a lot of the times think that, oh, well, my problem shouldn't matter if this person has it worse. But in reality, everyone goes through their own struggles in life, and they go through it at different times.
I think we all know that parents, are always a pressure. No matter what they do to try and avoid it, it's just always happening. It's because obviously they care for you, or they're just trying to look out for you, but sometimes when they talk too much about something they want for you and maybe you don't really want it as much for yourself, it's just stop. You're not helping the situation, you're only making it worse.
Stress of the future, because we've lived with our parents for, usually 18 years, and then we all of a sudden have to face this of, applications, scholarships, dealing with our own money, making new friends, probably gonna live a new life. That's huge, and sometimes parents don't help with that stress.
I think academic stress is really, really scary for everyone, and it's a lot to handle because we have to worry about colleges, and it's well, what if I'm not doing enough, because you're comparing yourself to other people who are doing lots of things, and everyone is telling you to go and study and do everything you can do, but especially if your mental health is not in the place it should be, then it's going to be so stressful, and it's going to be so much harder when you're not actually getting that help.
Yeah, building off of that, I feel just the school standards tells us that we need to go to college and get a really high-paying job to be happy, when in reality there's millions of ways for us to grow up and be happy, and we just need to find the way that works for us, not works for everybody else.
So another social pressure that I think is probably one of the most, I would say, big, I guess, is probably that from social media, because nobody really posts about bad things that are going on in their life, just the things that they think makes them look good or they think are good in general. Nobody ever posts anything that is bad for themselves, so it gives off the illusion that everyone has a perfect life, and then you think about yourself, you're I have nowhere near that perfect of a life than all these other people. What am I doing wrong? I think that's something that's really adds a lot of pressure to one's life.
And I think it's really important for especially teens, but also adults and young children who are getting into social media, to realize that all these things are very, fabricated to seem like your whole life is perfect and your whole life is all this fun, but in reality everyone is going through the, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, these things, people are doing these things, I needed to be doing these things. Everyone's going through it, and I think social media is very harmful for people who are thinking they're not good enough.
Yeah, going along with what she was saying, I know a lot of people have very perfect Instagrams or perfect Snapchats, I guess, just high scores, I guess, but they're going through the same stuff I may be going through, other people may be going through, fear that people will judge them if it's not perfect, if their Instagram doesn't look good, if they don't get enough likes or followers. It's they're trying to make an impression to the people who they haven't met in person already, and showing them like I'm fine, like I'm perfect, I look fine, like I don't need any help, I'm good, I don't have any mental illness or anything.
I think another thing that's really specific to right now is with online school, like while a lot of those pressures that seem like kind of superficial might seem like they're fading away, it's really hard now for a lot of people to feel like they're part of a group or they're socializing with people enough. I think it can definitely be tough for people because I know most of my interactions with my friends were just at school. I have a couple really close friends that I'm lucky enough to be able to still talk to during online school and everything. But I know that there are definitely people who aren't lucky enough to have that, and not being able to go to school and have that time to interact with people closely is definitely tough, and it definitely can cause a lot of stress.
One of the biggest warning signs I think I've seen, and my friends said they saw in me, was like pulling away from people, just like isolating yourself, not wanting to go to school, not having like energy for doing simple like tasks, even if it's not like, even if you've never went out much, if you like stop wanting to do homework and things like that, that's a big warning sign.
I think also someone being really discouraged or seeming really negative about certain things like that they might not have been negative about before, that might be a sign that they're feeling certain.
I also hate to use the word emotional because it's just such a broad word, but maybe heightened emotions like more anger, more sadness. That's definitely a warning sign, I'd say.
A big warning sign that I've noticed is when people typically lose interest in things that they once enjoyed. They usually say they're always tired, they have low energy, and they withdraw from social interaction, or they'll act more distant than they were.
I just want to say that like some people don't start out as outgoing. A lot of people are already like more to themselves, like reserved. But I think any behavior that's consistently just out of their normal pattern of behavior or like the way they act, that's like the biggest warning sign.
Yeah, building off of that, I think if their attitude toward life and all things in general, if it's you're seeing a huge shift in what they're focusing on or like how they put their minds towards things, that's also a big warning sign. Like if someone's a super outgoing, happy person and then suddenly they don't want to go out, they are having trouble doing things they love and things like that, that's a big warning sign.
Yeah, and obviously it's easier to tell when there's big shifts like that, when someone is outgoing and then suddenly they kind of cut themselves off. Like that's an easier thing to tell. But there are, like you're saying, a lot of people who start off kind of like that, and that's why it's important to check in with people every now and then.
I think also just being like overly worried and stressed. I think as students, oftentimes being stressed kind of becomes part of your personality during like final season. But making sure that people aren't constantly hyper focused on things and they aren't extremely worried about the things going on in their life.